Coming up, Homeland Security agents raid a Joplin food distribution center and an illegal migrant worker investigation. An area healthcare provider offers a controversial COVID-19 treatment regimen. Plus, while today is truly a dog day afternoon. Good Thursday morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News, where it's 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. Now, perhaps a dog day afternoon in more ways than one, as we still feel like we're in the midst of the dog days of summer. Let's take a look at our 7-day forecast. We're going to work a little backwards here this morning. We're going to start with this, as we see that we still have one more alert day on the 7-day forecast, and that is our heat advisory that we will have all the duration for our Thursday. As we take a live look over 7th and range lines, temperature is going to be very similar to where we were at this point in time yesterday, sitting right now at 77 degrees, if not a little bit warmer than what we had on Wednesday. We've seen anything from, say, mid to low 70s right now. And remember, the heat advisory is all encompassing. And there's a look at our current temperatures, 71. That's as low as we're going to get. And then Joplin and Carthage both topping out at 77. We did have a little light cloud cover overnight. It wasn't too bad. Very nice, mild night and staying on the dry side. Once again, those are our heat advisories. We're all encompassed right there. Everybody's going to be a part of it. Now, the old reflectivity from the sweeping radar really picked up with this morning's humidity. But then as we kind of clear that off, you can tell there's really nothing around the entire Midwest to worry about. And the contiguous 48 remaining relatively dry as far as headed into the weekend. Now, the severe thunderstorm risk map does pop up that high category in the upper plains right on the Minnesota-Iowa state line, but nothing near us. However, we do increase our chances for rain just a little bit for the afternoon and evening hours, but tell you what, you're going to be hard pressed to see any of the green actually pop up in your neighborhood. There it is. I mean, that's about as sporadic can be. And then as we push into Friday, we'll go mid-90s, but at least we'll be able to drop our heat advisory. Overnight lows going to stay in the 70s, and still warm weekend. Average high this time of year would be about 89, and only day we hit that is Sunday. Every other day we're just a little bit above, if not all the way up to 95 by Wednesday. Homeland Security agents charged more than a dozen people suspected of taking part in a criminal enterprise employing undocumented workers in the 4 states. The indictment states 17 of the 19 people charged were part of a scheme that smuggled Mexican, Guatemalan, and El Salvadoran nationals into the U.S. illegally. One of the people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns specialty food distribution in Joplin, and he also owns several Mexican restaurants in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Those include El Charro, El Chorrito, and Playa Azul. Yesterday, Homeland Security raided specialty foods. Other people in the area named in the indictment include Jose Razo of Carl Junction, Anthony Dahl of Guatemala, who lives in Joplin, Miguel Tarin Martinez of Joplin, and Ramon Moreno Hernandez of Mexico, who currently lives in Nevada. You can find more information on our website by going to KOAMnewsnow.com. After more than a year of the pandemic, there are only a few treatment options authorized by the FDA. But now a healthcare provider in Fort Scott says he's seen success with an at-home COVID treatment regimen. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on the at-home protocol and what top health officials say about its effectiveness.
In a small family practice in southeast Kansas, a healthcare provider claims to have found a better way.
I've seen probably close to 50 at this point.
Yeah.
You know, small sample around here.
Ryan Lewis spends his time divided between being in the military and being a nurse practitioner at Fort Scott Family Medicine. He says his military background drove him to find a way to save more lives.
I'm not a put myself type of person out there, but when family or friends or people you know die.
Now he claims to have found a way to treat COVID-19 so patients don't land in the hospital.
A lot of this at the first came from Dr. Peter McCullough down in Texas.
He prescribes vitamin C, D3, and zinc, as well as medications like aspirin and berberine when symptoms are mild. If they get more severe, he adds prescription medications, including ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. Then he monitors their progress. Of the roughly 50 patients he's treated,
only 1 has been hospitalized, 2 had to go to the ER. That's it. Everybody else has had complete and full recovery.
But many parts of the protocol are not backed up by the nation's top disease experts. The National Institutes of Health say there's not enough evidence to support vitamin supplements' effectiveness in preventing or treating COVID. It's the same for all of the medications in the protocol, with the FDA specifically warning not to use ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. They say ivermectin can have dangerous interactions with other medications even when taken at normal doses, and that hydroxychloroquine has been linked to serious heart rhythm problems and other safety issues. How confident are you in there not being adverse side effects?
So let's not get into a political discussion because that's not what this is about.
Right.
But from what I have seen, I can't argue with the results. From what I hear from other providers that have done the same thing with a much larger patient base and good results, I can't argue with that.
In Fort Scott, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
We'll have a more in-depth breakdown of what Lewis uses in the protocol and what other experts say about them on our website. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Pittsburgh State is reporting COVID-19 numbers once again. Officials say testing began August 13th during move-in weekend. Of the 817 students who moved in, 635 met the university's guidelines to not have to be tested. Of the remaining students, 3 did test positive. Since classes began on the 16th, there have been 9 positive cases, with 17 students in isolation. Police in Parsons, Kansas arrested a man they say illegally entered homes while on drugs. Police say 50-year-old John Fields Jr. had been using PCP and marijuana when he tried to get inside an occupied car, was chased out of a home by the owner, and then barricaded himself in an unoccupied home. When officers tried to arrest him, he grabbed a brick and tried to grab an officer's taser. No police officers were injured. Fields' charges now include criminal trespass and aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer. Pittsburgh City Commission moves forward with a $1.2 million land acquisition to expand the North Industrial Park. City is going to acquire a parcel of land located north of Atkinson Avenue and west of Free Kings Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help the growing demand for industrial space in the city.
By the time somebody decides they want to be here, you still have to we have to purchase land, develop land, and that takes a long time and a lot of money. So to have sites ready to go and a piece of land that's big enough that theoretically we can have multiple sites on there, it's just a big advantage for us and something we've been trying to do for a long time. We're very lucky to get this one done.
Hall says the parcel of land is nearly 200 acres. Another bit of development news out of Pittsburgh as crews break ground on a new residential area. 3P Development, it's a group out of Bryant, Arkansas, began work on the Villas at Creekside. It'll be a community for people 55 years and older, and when it's finished, it will include 29 2- or 3-bedroom villas and outdoor amenities including bocce ball, pickleball courts, a dog park, and an outdoor gym.
We like Pittsburgh. We think Pittsburgh is on the verge of really taking off and being a model community for other communities in rural America who are looking to prosper and grow.
The $12 million private development is going to be located south of East 4th Street. That is near Pittsburgh High School. Rolling a little past 5:07. Let's take a look at our temperatures right now as we sit anywhere from low to high 70s. Don't have the big gap in temperatures like what we had yesterday. A little bit more closer together as we progress through the afternoon. Remember, we got one more day of hanging on to our heat advisories. So it'll feel about like 103 to 104 this afternoon. And we're going to be on the dry side. Future Track wants to feed us sporadic, I guess would be an understatement here. You know, it's a pop of green that lasts about 5 seconds right there. Now it does get a little bit better as we head into the weekend. Temperatures dropping from Friday down to Sunday, and then we'll kind of ride 90s until looks like the beginning of September on Wednesday wants to feed us the beginning of another heat wave. That is a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up next on the KOAM Morning News, it all starts this week on the high school football field. We take a look at one of our Week 1 marquee matchups. Plus, man's best friend. Well, got its own day. Question is, does it take the crown as the perfect pet? And new screening guidelines for people suffering from diabetes. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Missouri high school football season just 2 days away. This Friday night, we start with a big one in Southwest Missouri, Webb City and Joplin. Two teams going to meet in Webb Friday night, Week 1 matchup, and this one's been good the last few years. Now, last year, Eagles beat the Cardinals 41-40. Joplin's second straight win over Webb City. The Cardinals' only loss of the regular season.
Of course it gives us confidence and motivation, but like always, I mean, Webb's a really, really good team, so I mean, they can come out and beat anybody no matter how good they are. If we come out there with the mindset that we're just going to beat them and not have to worry about it, then they could run it up on us and then beat us. So we really have to take every person seriously and every game seriously.
We've been ready since the last time we played them. You know, losing them 2 years in a row, it's not something that we like, so we're trying to make up for it this week.
As for the Nevada Tigers, they're also just 2 days away from the season opener. Nevada with a big-time turnaround last year, won 7 games after going winless in 2019. Nevada with plenty of players back from that team, aiming to continue their climb in the Big 8. Here's KOAM Sports Director Jacob Leonard.
Momentum is building for the Nevada Tigers.
The last year, after going 0-10, just pretty rough on your confidence, but then coming out, having a good season, just looking forward to having another one this year.
I thought the energy level and the confidence was high last year, but it has carried over. We've got a lot of kids that have a lot of confidence. They're not arrogant, but they believe in themselves and they believe in each other, so that's always a good starting point.
Everything starts up front for Nevada with an offensive line that helped the Tigers rush for 321 yards per game last year.
We have 4 young men on the offensive line that are now 3-year starters. So they've been starting since they were freshmen or sophomores. It's a lot of experience. They know what to do when people blitz. They know how to pick up stunts. They know how to block. They know how to double team and come off a double team. So it's just been real effective for us so far this summer and early fall.
Behind that offensive line is a deep and talented backfield led by all Big 8 selections Eli Chaney and Case Sanderson.
We're loaded in the backfield. We've got a lot of good running backs. We can go 4 deep at tailback and 2 or 3 deep at wingback. We can go 2 or 3 deep at fullback. So we just feel like we're really talented in the offensive backfield.
The Tigers are hoping to compete for a conference title and make a run in the playoffs. But more than that, they just want to play well and leave it all on the field every Friday.
It's always good to get those wins, but just playing our best, playing as hard as we can every play. It just doesn't really matter, the wins or losses, just how we all play as a team.
A lot of times people look at wins and losses based on whether or not they had a successful season. We tell our kids all the time it's about execution, because in our conference you can execute at a pretty high level and still get beat. And there's times where I've had teams that didn't execute very well at all and still won the game. So we're just successful for us as long as we feel like we're executing at a high level every night and we're preparing to the best of our abilities all week long.
Nevada opening the season on Friday, going to do so at home. Get to take on Logan Rogersville. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, new details emerge about secret rescue operations taking place in Afghanistan. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. 19 minutes past top of the hour. That's still good enough for a little weather on the 7s in my book. Wanted to point out our high temperatures here, not really for the past 3 days. We want to focus in on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday since we've had these heat advisories. Now, these temperatures that you're looking at are from Joplin Regional Airport, 95, 94, 95. Give you an idea of what it's been like in Chanute, 95, 98, 99 yesterday. As a matter of fact, Chanute's average high for the month of August, 1.3 degrees above what we've seen in Joplin. Speaking of Joplin, there we are at 7th and Range Line, where it's 77 degrees. It's a warm one. Joplin, one of our highest spots right now, along with Carthage. 71 in Parsons. That's as low as we're going to go. And a pair of 74s in Fort Scott, Nevada. Make it a triumvirate because we'll throw Miami in there as well. Heat advisories lasting for one more day. You should be done with those by about 7 o'clock as the humidity rides right where that heat wave is. Get a little bit out to the west and up to the north. It's much, much better. I tell you what, the old sweeping radar, it's been finicky. Not that that's a bad thing, but she's at it this morning with all that humidity. Nothing really going on in the entire Midwest, and quiet so far. A little rain down in Florida, thunderstorm activity up in North Dakota. But this afternoon and evening, where it gets a little interesting, especially through the Dakotas, and then look at that higher risk area right in between Minnesota and Iowa as well. Speaking of some high risk, there's a low pressure system right now. It's right in between Central America and Cuba, and that's got the best chance for what's in the Atlantic basin to turn into a named storm here, and do so perhaps in the next 48 hours. Our weather trend here in the 4 states lifts us up into the high 90s once again. We do see a little green that wants to pop up here for the afternoon, but certainly doesn't amount to anything. And we got one more alert day on our hands. Now, as we head from Friday into Sunday, we do see our temperatures begin to drop just a little bit before we're back into the 90s, all the way to begin September. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, as today is National Dog Day. That's right, celebrated every August 26th. It's a day that encourages people to share their lives with dogs of all breeds, both our pets and those who work to help save lives, help law enforcement, and help others. Celebrate by walking your dog. If you don't own one, hey, go to your neighbor. Say, hey, let me give your dog a walk. Or remember, you can donate to a dog shelter or animal charity. Now, maybe you could turn your pup into a social media star. I'm sure some of you have Instagram and Twitter accounts set up for your pets already, don't you? Our question to you this morning, what's your household pet of preference? We're going to put this to the test, see if dogs come out on top on National Dog Day. We'll be back with Healthwatch next. Topping Healthwatch this morning, for the first time in 6 years, doctors are issuing new protocols when it comes to screening for type 2 diabetes. Marianne Rafferty explains the importance of these changes.
Health officials are releasing new, potentially life-saving guidelines for Americans at risk of developing type 2 diabetes. According to the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, overweight and obese people should be tested for diabetes earlier than ever before, starting at the age of 35 instead of 40. This advisory comes as the nation continues seeing a dramatic increase in obesity levels, with 3 in 4 Americans now considered either overweight or obese.
And obesity is a major factor in the development of this disease, so if we can control the body weight, then we can definitely improve the diabetes.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says more than 34 million Americans currently have diabetes. But medical experts say a growing number of younger Americans are being diagnosed with the disease, with 14% of people 18 years and up confirmed as diabetic. Meanwhile, another obesity-related illness is on the rise as the World Health Organization says hypertension, or high blood pressure, now affects 1.3 billion people.
This is one of the most deadly diseases.
Hypertension greatly increases your chance of suffering a heart attack or stroke. And the most recent data finds roughly 1 in 3 people worldwide died from heart disease-related issues, including hypertension, back in 2019. The WHO says diabetes and an unhealthy diet can contribute to hypertension, adding people in less developed nations usually lack the resources to test and treat the condition.
We'll have more health news coming your way in the next half hour, including an update on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine booster shot and increasing antibodies. Before we get there, let's talk a little weather, as temperatures are in between 71 and 77 degrees right now. Joplin and Carthage chiming in as our warm spot, followed right behind by Chanute and Lamar at 76. No matter where you are, the heat advisory sticking around for one more day, set to expire at 7 p.m. and in the course of pushing up into the high 90s once again today. Feeling about like 103 to 104. You see a little green that tries to pop every now and then, but certainly if it does, probably last about 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. And still going to ride the 90s tomorrow, but go ahead and lift the heat advisory, and then a little gradual drop of temps on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be right back with more KOAM Morning News after this. Good Thursday morning. I'm Michael Hayslip with your KOAM News Update. Homeland Security agents charged more than a dozen people suspected of taking part in a criminal enterprise employing undocumented workers in the 4 states. One of the people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns specialty food distribution in Joplin, as well as several Mexican restaurants in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Those include El Charro, El Chorrito, and Playa Azul. Yesterday, Homeland Security raided specialty foods. A total of 19 people are named in the indictment. Pittsburgh City Commission moves forward with a $1.2 million land acquisition to expand the North Industrial Park. City's going to acquire 200 acres located north of Atkinson Avenue and west of Free Kings Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help the growing demand for the industrial space of the city. As we check on our watches and warnings for this Thursday, well, it's actually an advisory, and no surprise as it is the heat advisory hanging around all the way since the beginning of the week. Temperature is going to press up into the high 90s once again, feeling about like 103 to 104. Now, at least beginning tomorrow, we actually go down on the thermometer. Some seasonable temps there by the time we get to Sunday. And of course, all the latest on the Skywatch weather app. Coming up, a Joplin restaurant and food distribution center owner indicted in a federal investigation concerning undocumented workers. And an area healthcare provider claims to have an at-home COVID-19 treatment regimen, but the FDA warns against using some of the drugs involved. Plus, new details about secret evacuations out of Afghanistan. Good Thursday morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News, where it's 5:30. I'm Michael Hayslip. Well, as you saw from that last piece of video, well, it also happens to be National Dog Day, and more of a dog day afternoon with the heat that we're going to have as we've locked in that heat advisory for one more day. We got a while before the sky begins to lighten up over 7th and Rangeline there in Joplin. Our current conditions sitting at 77 degrees. Not too bad. Yeah, we don't have that wide gap. It's, yesterday we're sitting about a 10-degree gap in temperatures all over the place. Now it's about 6-7 degrees. It goes from about 71 to 77. It's quite comfortable outside, even with the humidity. And that heat advisory lasting all the way until 7 o'clock tonight. Don't worry about the reflectivity on the sweeping radar. Midwest remains quiet and dry, picking up some thunderstorm activity for this afternoon and evening right along the Minnesota-Iowa state line. Put that in the elevated category right there. That'll be the second straight day that Iowa's had to put up with severe thunderstorms. Our weather trend is going to be a whole lot of sunshine early. Now, we will get a little developing cloud cover for the afternoon and the evening, and you can tell Future Track tries to spit just a little bit green every now and then, but certainly doesn't amount to much, and it's really not enough to help cool us down as we're going to head into the weekend. We're still in the 90s, but you'll notice a little bit of a trend here from Thursday at least down to Sunday. The thermometer does drop incrementally each day. Sunday actually should be seasonable as we are going to close out August pretty much high 80s, low 90s. A Joplin restaurant owner and others are accused of smuggling undocumented workers into the 4-state area and beyond. El Charro in Joplin is one of the many local Mexican restaurants that's accused of using undocumented workers connected to a smuggling ring that operated in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. The Specialty Foods Distribution Center in Joplin was where Homeland Security, along with law enforcement, made their move with a raid yesterday. One of the people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns Specialty Foods Distribution in Joplin, as well as several Mexican restaurants, including El Charro, El Chorrito, and Playa Azul. Cantina Bravo in Webb City, also accused of using undocumented workers obtained from the smuggling ring. Other people in the 4-state area named in the indictment include Jose Razo of Carl Junction, Anthony Dahl of Guatemala, who's living in Joplin, Miguel Turin Martinez of Joplin, and Ramon Moreno Hernandez of Mexico, now living in Nevada. According to the indictment, the conspirators did not pay the appropriate state and federal payroll taxes, overtime wages, nor workers' compensation for the unauthorized employees. You can read more about the indictment involving 45 restaurants in multiple states on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. A Fort Scott, Kansas healthcare provider claims he's had success with at-home COVID treatments. Ryan Lewis is a nurse practitioner at Fort Scott Family Medicine and says he's treated roughly 50 patients using vitamins and prescription medications like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. However, the FDA warns against using both of those drugs to treat COVID-19, especially without a prescription.
From what I have seen, I can't argue with the results. From what I hear from other providers that have done the same thing with a much larger patient base and good results, I can't argue with that.
We have an in-depth breakdown of his regimen on our website. Once again, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. Pitt State is reporting COVID-19 numbers again. Officials say testing began on August 13th with move-in weekend. And of those 817 students involved, 635 met the university's guidelines to not even have to be tested. Of the remaining students, 3 did test positive. Since classes began on August 16, there have been 9 positive cases with 17 students in isolation. The University of Kansas Health System says it's treating several children and teenagers dealing with long-lasting effects from COVID-19. Sheree Honeycutt has the story from KC.
While most kids are ready to go back to school, others are struggling with long-term effects from COVID-19.
So what we're seeing typically are kids who had COVID maybe 5, 6, 7 months ago, but are still having some symptoms that are lingering.
Children's Mercy Hospital says they have 22 kids in their care with COVID, some in the ICU.
This is the longest stretch we've had with this many children in the hospital.
Now some kids are finding themselves long haulers and are being treated at the University of Kansas Health System.
We want to prevent disease, not just because we want to prevent hospitalizations, but we also want to prevent multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which we know happens in children. We also want to prevent long hauler COVID, which, although is pretty rare in kids, still happens.
Things like persistent shortness of breath, mood disorders, so depression, anxiety that's new and hasn't really been around before, and also the persistent lack of smell.
Some might wonder if the children had previous medical conditions or issues with weight. Nelson says that's not the case.
Most of the kids that I have seen come through the long COVID clinic were previously very healthy. Some that were extremely active in sports have come in with these symptoms.
The youngest patient he's worked with is 10 years old. Tuesday, Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt announced he is suing Missouri districts who mandated masks in schools.
To take that away from our arsenal of potential treatments or preventive measures is really frustrating.
Nelson says masking is the best way for kids to stay in school and keep others from getting sick and possibly becoming long haulers themselves.
To get a hold of this requires us to all work together and to really accept and follow the science. And that says that getting vaccinated and wearing masks are helpful.
Attorney General Schmidt's school mask mandate lawsuit claims the mandates are, quote, unreasonable, arbitrary, and capricious. Pittsburgh City Commission moves forward with a $1.2 million land acquisition. It's property that would be used to expand the city's North Industrial Park. City will acquire a parcel of land that's north of Atkinson Avenue, west of Free Kings Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help meet the growing demand for industrial space in the city.
It starts with job growth. So your community grows because you get people that want to work there and they move there and they need houses, so you build houses. But the first thing is they need jobs. And for us, we're kind of a manufacturing community anyway, so industrial parks are highly critical to us, having those jobs that can attract more and more people.
Hall says the parcel of land, nearly 200 acres. Also in Pittsburgh, crews breaking ground on a new residential area. 3P Development is a group out of Bryant, Arkansas, began working on the villas at Creekside. That'll be a community for people 55 years and older. And when finished, it'll have about 32 or 3-bedroom villas, outdoor amenities that include bocce ball, pickleball courts, a dog park, and an outdoor gym.
Yeah, so this development is unlike anything else that we currently have going on in Pittsburgh. This is a high-end 55 and up community with amenities.
$12 million private development is south of East 4th Street. That's near Pittsburgh High School. Also a groundbreaking celebration in Lamar, Missouri. Barton County Chamber of Commerce has been fundraising to develop a park dedicated to legendary Old West lawman Wyatt Earp. Now, Earp was born in Illinois, but moved his family to Lamar around 1869 when he was 21 years old. During that time, he served as a constable in Lamar. Chamber officials hope the park, which will feature a statue of Earp and his first wife, Urilla, serves as a tourist attraction and community gathering place.
And hope to really have a community outdoor concert area where we can have picnics in the park, where we can just do all kinds of things to really show off our history and just how cool our town is and our great rich history.
Wyatt Earp Park, scheduled to open in December on the northeast corner of the Lamar Square. You can find it at 10th Street and Broadway. That's a look at our top news stories this half hour. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we're making a pet connection this morning. We got 3 lovable canines, which is perfect since it's National Dog Day. Plus, why the Vice President's trip in Southeast Asia was delayed because of a mysterious illness. We'll have the latest. And now as we're pushing past 537, temperatures ranging from the low to mid 70s. We got a couple 77s on the board, but remember, we've got one more alert day on the 7-day forecast. Heat advisory until 7 o'clock tonight, with it feeling about like 102 to 103 this afternoon. We'll be back with World Watch next. Good Thursday morning. Michael Hayslip with you in the Skywatch Weather Center. We've got to push through one more day with a heat advisory for just about all of our 4 state counties, as temperatures are going to feel about like 102 to 103 this afternoon. Could see a pop of rain. Doesn't look like it'll last but 5 to 10 minutes. But luckily, as we head into the weekend, we actually get to drop our temperatures a little bit down to the 89 on Sunday. Topping World Watch, CBS News has learned the United States military is secretly rescuing Americans stuck outside the Kabul airport. Military is using helicopters, even some ground troops, to rescue Americans and Afghan allies. Now, amid security threats, the State Department has instructed Americans waiting outside 3 airport gates to, quote, leave immediately. Skylar Henry's in D.C. with more on the evacuation efforts.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there is no deadline on U.S. efforts to help remaining American citizens who want to leave Afghanistan. That's ahead of President Biden's August 31st deadline for the withdrawal of U.S. troops.
There is no deadline on our work to help any remaining American citizens who decide they want to leave to do so, along with the many Afghans who have stood by us over these many years.
The Secretary of State said about 4,500 Americans have been evacuated since August 14th. As of Wednesday, some 500 were waiting to leave, and it's unclear whether an estimated 1,000 more want to evacuate at all. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked how evacuations would continue after U.S. troops have departed.
We're working on that.
At the same time, U.S. officials are warning about a real threat posed by the terrorist group ISIS-K, which they say has the ability to attack the Kabul airport.
We're operating in a hostile environment in a city and country now controlled by the Taliban, with the very real possibility of an ISIS-K attack.
Meanwhile, Afghan refugees began a new chapter as they arrived Wednesday at the Dulles Airport outside of Washington, D.C.
You happy to be here?
Yeah, we're happy.
In San Diego, volunteers are helping furnish the new home of a family that fled Afghanistan last month, and 5 members of this all-girl Afghan robotics team, as well as more than 100 media workers, are settling in after touching down in Mexico this week. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
As military flights out of Kabul continue, more than 88,000 people have been evacuated since July. Also coming out last night into this morning, British officials warn of, quote, very, very credible reporting of an imminent attack targeting the airport amid evacuations. However, British intel did not elaborate on the details. Vice President Kamala Harris had a hard time getting back into the air to continue her tour through Southeast Asia. Her departure from Singapore to Hanoi, Vietnam, temporarily delayed after the delegation was made aware of a health incident among diplomats in Vietnam. Officials believe it was possibly related to the so-called Havana syndrome, which has sickened hundreds of U.S. diplomats around the world since 2016, possibly directed from radio frequency energy. Let's look at some of our biggest headlines from around the world. Now, let's go to our Something to Talk About, because August 26 happens to be National Dog Day. It's a day that encourages people to share their lives with dogs of all breeds, and it happens to be the subject of our Something to Talk About and our morning Instapoll. Now, specifically, what we're asking you is, do you have a personal pet preference of choice. And I forgot to mention earlier, all you have to do is go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or you can connect to us through our Facebook page as well. And certainly enough, right now, 58% of you say, indeed, give me man's best friend as my household pet of choice. We put a slew of other choices on there for you to pick and choose from. Now, with it being National Dog Day, just so happens we've got Jasmine Kyle of the SEK Humane Society stopping by. We'll catch up with her right after this. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Homeland Security agents charge more than a dozen people suspected of taking part in what they call a criminal enterprise employing undocumented workers in the 4 states. One of those people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns specialty food distribution in Joplin. He also owns several Mexican restaurants in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, including El Charro, El Chorrito, and Playa Azul. Yesterday, Homeland Security raided specialty foods. Other people in the area named in the indictment include Jose Razo of Carl Junction, Anthony Dahl of Guatemala, who lives in Joplin, Miguel Turin Martinez of Joplin, and Ramon Moreno Hernandez of Mexico, who's currently living in Nevada. Pitt State is reporting COVID-19 numbers once again. Officials say testing began August 13 during move-in weekend. Of the 817 students who moved in, 635 met the university's guidelines to not have to be tested. Of the remaining students, 3 did test positive. Since classes began on the 16th, there have been 9 positive cases, with 17 students in isolation. Pittsburgh City Commission moving forward with a $1.2 million land acquisition expanding the North Industrial Park. City's going to acquire a parcel of land located north of Atkinson Avenue, west of Free Kings Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help meet the growing demand for industrial space in the city. And a groundbreaking celebration in Lamar, Missouri, as the Barton County Chamber of Commerce fundraising to develop a park dedicated to legendary Old West lawman Wyatt Earp. Earp was born in Illinois, but moved his family to Lamar around 1869 when he was 21 years old. And during that time, he served as a constable in Lamar. Chamber officials hope the park, which will feature a statue of Earp and his first wife, Urilla, serves as a tourist attraction and community gathering place. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. If you're getting out the door early, it's very, very comfortable as we range anywhere from about 71 to 77 degrees. And what we're looking for this afternoon, though, is another day of heat advisories. But remember, this will be the last one on the 7-day panel that pops up as an alert day. Beginning Friday, we actually slowly go down on the thermometer to the point where we're at 89 on Sunday. We'll come back, catch up with Jasmine Kyle on this National Dog Day right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. And, we're fortunate enough just about every week to be joined by Jasmine Kyle. She's the executive director of the SEK Humane Society, and they've got a huge event coming up here this weekend because the SEK Humane Society is going to be out and about and have a huge presence at Little Balkan Days. Jasmine, number one, I want to thank you for your time this morning. You are in the midst of what's called Clear the Shelters, and we're clearing the shelters for a great cause. And while you and I have spoken about this earlier, you've been able to extend your time frame on making sure the dogs and cats and all the wonderful pets that you have out there end up with homes. Can you kind of talk to us about Clear the Shelters and how that is now going into September?
Yeah, so the Clear the Shelters event is a partnership with NBC. They hold it every single year and they team up with tons of shelters across the nations. And we were very fortunate for our application to be accepted with them. So starting actually August 23rd, all the way through September 19th is the event. And during that time frame, shelters go above and beyond to help out and try to remove as many obstacles and barricades as possible to find these fur babies their homes that they absolutely deserve. So for the whole month of August, for right now, all of our dog adoption fees are being dropped to $20. We're most likely going to extend that into September. But right now, we have an amazing sponsorship program happening where people can call in right now, and with the reduced adoption fee of $20, they can sponsor that dog, basically paying for their adoption fee, and that is guaranteed for lifetime at our no-kill animal shelter. We have over 20 dogs right now that have no adoption fee that are already spayed and neutered, microchipped, fully vaccinated. There is no reason to not come and see these fur babies right now.
And we're going to kind of profile some of those dogs coming up in just a little bit. But of course, yeah, after you've made the decision that you're going to do the right thing and you're going to adopt one of these dogs, you may think, you know, what would be great to have is a dog house. And you had some kids at Lakeside Elementary, some kids and some staff, put together an amazing project. I'm going to throw some pictures up here while you're talking about the great talent and how Lakeside was able to help out and what they put together. Kind of explain how that came to be and the end product.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are very blessed to have the support from Lakeside Elementary USD 250 here in town. This started a few years ago with a grant that they got, and the kids wanted to help a good cause, which was animals in our area. And that was by doing a type of fundraiser. So these kids will literally have to build little demos of the houses and present them to their teachers. And then at that point, they build the houses from scratch. And as you can see from the photos, I mean, these kids are working with wood, hammer, nails. I mean, they tile the roof, they paint them by hand, and they're beautiful. And this is all to raise funds for the animals at the SEK Humane Society. So on August 29th, we are teaming up with Little Balkan. So that Sunday from 1:30 to 4:30, we're going to be at Lakeside Park. From 1:30 to 4:30, we're going to be having a large adoption event, but also we're going to have every single one of these houses displayed. And at 4 o'clock, Myers Auction Service will be auctioning off the houses live to the public. So if you want to come out and help a good cause, and as a bonus, get an amazing custom dog house for your little pup, this is the perfect time.
And so once again, these are these elementary school kids at Lakeside. They're the ones that came up with the demos, and then they were able to make them full size, and that's going to happen August 29th out at Little Balkan Stage. I got a break coming up here, Jasmine, but I've got 3 dogs that I want to ask about in particular. That not only that, they have sponsored families. We're talking about clearing the shelters. Can I talk you into coming back here in just a little bit, and we'll talk about those dogs?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. Jasmine Kyle, Executive Director of the SEK Humane Society. We'll be back, catch up with Jasmine, and have more KOAM morning news right after this. Not a whole lot of movement in our temperatures. We've been in between 71 and 77 all morning long. We'll hit sunrise over Joplin at 6:44, and then we lock in. Heat advisory running all the way until 7 o'clock tonight. One of those days where by the time we get to the noon hour, we'll already be talking about the 90s and feeling like 97 around noon, about 103 later on this afternoon. If you see a raindrop, it's going to last for about 5 to 10 minutes, not really going to bring us any relief. Weekend does bring us some relief, though, as we drop down to the low 90s, if not the high 80s. We'll be right back after this.
Coming up, Homeland Security agents raid a Joplin food distribution center in an illegal migrant worker investigation. And an area healthcare provider offers a controversial COVID-19 treatment regimen. Plus why today is truly a dog day afternoon.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bond. Perhaps a dog day afternoon in more ways than one, as we still feel like we're in the midst of the dog days of summer. Michael Hayslip joins us with a first look at the forecast.
We got one more day of that heat advisory lingering around. Luckily, it won't be anything like it was in 1983. That's back-to-back days for 83, setting record highs for August the 25th and August the 26th. Our temperatures got up to about 95 yesterday in Joplin, but in Chanute, how about 99 degrees is where they topped out at the airport. Speaking of Joplin, as we take a live look over 7th and Rangeline, that's where we sit at 76 degrees. Humidity, that number's deceiving if you ask me. It's muggy outside right now. Everything from 70 to 76. So we're getting our little pre-sunrise gradual drop. You know, that'll only equate to about 1 to 2 degrees. It won't play a role when you step outside. You're going to say, hey, it's warm. Heat advisory lasting until 7 o'clock tonight, but remember, tonight will be the last night of it. Sweeping radar starting to get just a little bit better on us, that reflectivity, but we don't have anything to worry about. You got to press all the way up the river up there, on the north side of Omaha, find anything even close to us. It's going to be interesting here for the upper plains tonight. This will be the second consecutive day that we've seen everything from low to elevated to high on the severe thunderstorm risk map for that exact same neck of the woods. Our weather trend here in the 4 states, 90s by the noon hour, top out around 96, 97, feel about like 102 to 103. Future Track does try to throw just a spot of green at us every now and then, but one of those lasts about 5 to 10 minutes, and the majority of the 4 states is going to see absolutely nothing. Now, at least beginning tomorrow, we begin to step down on the thermometer, and while Friday and Saturday are still in the 90s, at least Sunday through Tuesday, that's pretty seasonable.
And it's still going to be hot, like you said.
Yeah, it's already muggy outside right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Homeland Security agents charged more than a dozen people suspected of taking part in a criminal enterprise employing undocumented workers in the area. The indictment states 17 of the 19 people charged were part of the scheme that smuggled Mexican, Guatemalan, and El Salvadorian nationals into the U.S. illegally. One of the people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns specialty food distribution in Joplin and several Mexican restaurants in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, including El Charro, El Chorrito, and Playa Azul. Yesterday, Homeland Security raided specialty foods. Other people in the area named in the indictment include Jose Razo of Carl Junction, Anthony Dahl of Guatemala, who lives in Joplin, Miguel Terran Martinez of Joplin, and Ramon Moreno Hernandez of Mexico, who lives in Nevada. You can find more information on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. After more than a year of the pandemic, there are only a few treatment options authorized by the FDA. But now a healthcare provider in Fort Scott says it has seen success with an at-home COVID treatment regimen. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on the at-home protocol and what top health officials say about the effectiveness of it.
Practice in southeast Kansas, a healthcare provider claims to have found a better way.
I've seen probably close to 50 at this point.
Yeah.
You know, small sample around here.
Ryan Lewis spends his time divided between being in the military and being a nurse practitioner at Fort Scott Family Medicine. He says his military background drove him to find a way to save more lives.
I'm not a put myself type of person out there, but when family or friends or people you know die.
Now he claims to have found a way to treat COVID-19 so patients don't land in the hospital.
A lot of this at the first came from Dr. Peter McCullough down in Texas.
He prescribes vitamin C, D3, and zinc, as well as medications like aspirin and berberine when symptoms are mild. If they get more severe, he adds prescription medications, including ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. Then he monitors their progress. Of the roughly 50 patients he's treated,
only one has been hospitalized. 2 had to go to the ER. That's it. Everybody else has had complete and full recovery.
But many parts of the protocol are not backed up by the nation's top disease experts. The National Institutes of Health say there's not enough evidence to support vitamin supplements' effectiveness in preventing or treating COVID. It's the same for all of the medications in the protocol, with the FDA specifically warning not to use ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. They say ivermectin can have dangerous interactions with other medications even when taken at normal doses, and that hydroxychloroquine has been linked to serious heart rhythm problems and other safety issues.
How confident are you in there not being adverse side effects?
So let's not get into a political discussion because that's not what this is about.
Right.
But from what I have seen, I can't argue with the results. From what I hear from other providers that have done the same thing with a much larger patient base and good results, I can't argue with that.
In Fort Scott, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
We'll have a more in-depth breakdown of what Lewis uses in the protocol and what other experts say about them on our website. You can find that at KOAMnewsnow.com. Pitt State is reporting COVID-19 numbers again. Officials say testing began on August 13th with move-in weekend. Of the 817 students who moved in, 635 met the university's guidelines to not have to be tested. Of the remaining students, 3 tested positive. Since classes began on the 16th, there have been 9 positive cases with 17 students in isolation. Police in Parsons, Kansas arrest a man they say illegally entered homes while on drugs. Police say 50-year-old John Fields Jr. had been using PCP and marijuana when he tried to get inside an occupied car, was chased out of a home by the owner, and barricaded himself in an unoccupied home. When officers tried to arrest him, he grabbed a brick and tried to grab an officer's taser. No officers were hurt. Fields' charges include criminal trespass and aggravated assault on law enforcement. In the North Industrial Park, the city will acquire a parcel of land located north of Atkinson Avenue and west of Free King Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help meet the growing demand for industrial space in the city.
By the time somebody decides they want to be here, you still have to work in. We have to purchase land, develop land, and that takes a long time and a lot of money. So to have sites ready to go and a piece of land that's big enough that theoretically we can have multiple sites on there, it's just a big advantage for us and something we've been trying to do for a long time. We're very lucky to get this one done.
Officials say the parcel of land is nearly 200 acres. Another bit of development news out of Pittsburgh. Crews breaking ground on a new residential area. 3P Development Group out of Bryant, Arkansas began work on the villas at Creekside, a community for people 55 years and older. When it's finished, it'll include 29 2- or 3-bedroom villas and outdoor amenities, including bocce ball and pickleball courts, a dog park, and an outdoor gym.
We're excited about this project. We like Pittsburgh. We think Pittsburgh is on the verge of really taking off and being a model community for other communities in rural America who are looking to prosper and grow.
$1 million private development will be located south of East 4th Street near Pittsburgh High School. It's 5:07.
Too hot to be on the outdoor gym. No, it'll be great. What Quentin Holmes is putting on out there, it'll turn out to be a great place. But I'll tell you what, go find some air conditioning to work out in today, because we've got a heat advisory and temperatures that are going to be above 90 degrees by the time we get to the noon hour and be all the way up to around 96, 97 this afternoon. Factor in that humidity because it's already muggy outside, and it'll feel about like, say 102 to 103. Nice thing is we do get a reprieve over the weekend, finally down into the low 90s on Saturday and Sunday.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, want to know where the school bus is? Now there's an app for that. Plus, celebrating National Dog Day by making a pet connection, and why frontline workers are saying no to a vaccine mandate. In Consumer Watch, one school district says hello to the new school year while waving goodbye to those long waits at the bus stop. Vanessa Crow is in San Antonio with the lowdown on a new phone app that's supposed to make this easier for parents.
As students head back to the classroom, we're seeing those yellow buses taking to the roadways. 9,000 students in San Antonio ISD will be boarding the school bus each day this year. And now parents can follow along their child's journey to school before the bus even arrives.
Yeah, this should really help with the elements and having the ability to know when that bus is about to show up and not having to be stuck at a corner stop waiting 20, 30 minutes just because you don't want to miss your bus.
It's an app called Stop Finder. Parents can track where their child's school bus is in real time.
They can see what bus number they're riding, the expected pickup time and drop-off time from their stop location. And with the app, you can actually set up a geo alert, which allows you to see when your bus is nearby.
Parents can also notify transportation services if their child is running late or if a student left something behind on the bus.
It's an extra tool that parents can use to help get their students back into the classroom and feel a little more comfortable about the bus that they're riding on.
SAISD says they're still practicing safety protocols on the buses, including limiting the number of riders on each bus. And while they say many drivers return each year, they still need more, offering a big bonus for new drivers with a commercial driver's license.
they come in and they start driving with us for 90 days, then yes, after that they can come in and get that $1,000 bonus.
Participated in that app too. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
Rolling up on 617, little weather on the 7s for the past 3 days and including today now. That'll be 4 consecutive days with heat advisories. And while we only see mid-90s, let's remember this is a Joplin Regional Airport. Chinook's been rolling, 98s and 99s for the past couple of days. Beautiful shot over 7th and Range Line, where we are still about it, give or take half an hour away from sunrise. 76 degrees is where we stand, and it's already muggy. So remember, we've got one more day. If you're going to be out and about, whole lot of water, sunscreen, loose-fitting clothing, light clothing. And you know what? If you want to take the dogs out, take them out either early in the morning or take them out this evening. Don't take them out in the heat of the day because it just so happens it's National Dog Day. Now, earlier this week, we caught up with Jasmine Kyle, the SEK Humane Society, but I wanted to save the interview so she could take part in today's poll question. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Earlier, we were joined by Jasmine Kyle. She's the executive director of the SEK Humane Society. And while we talked about the upcoming events where we've got elementary school kids that are building dog houses, it's so tremendous. And remember, that'll be on August the 29th. Jasmine and I kind of ran out of time to talk about the dogs that really we want to find homes for during the Clear the Shelter program that runs, remember, that runs all the way until September. And I'm going to start with one that won my heart right away because I'm a sucker for lab mixes. And so when I saw Betty, and I saw Betty was 7 years old in the lab mix, and when I put this picture up here, folks, she's going to steal your heart right away. Jasmine, tell us a little bit about Betty.
Yeah, Betty is, when you think of a perfect dog, I mean, Betty is one of our dogs out there that comes to mind. She will always come up to you with the biggest smile on her face and immediately sit in front of her kennel like, all right, I'm the best girl ever. Let's go outside. Let's go on a walk. She is such a fantastic dog. We would love for her to find her home during the Clear the Shelters event. And she's sponsored now too. She has no adoption fee. She's spayed, microchipped, up to date on vaccinations. The only thing is that she's looking for a home with no other animals. She knows several commands. She knows how to sit on command. She knows how to shake on command. She's great with kids. She's great with other people. If you're an active household in particular that is going to go on walks every night, go on trips to the park, you would never guess that she is 7 years old. She acts like a young 1 to 2 year old dog that is ready to go at a moment notice.
That is awesome. And it's sponsored by Melissa Harley. And we're going to come back and talk here a little bit about sponsorships. And speaking of the George family, they were kind enough to sponsor Cooper, who's a boxer mix. Now, before we get to the particulars of Cooper, you've got to explain this profile photo for me.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we had a wonderful individual. She cosplays as Disney princesses here in town and in the SEK area, and will go to kids' parties and hospitals and other events to really kind of spread the cheer. And she came out to our shelter one day to take pictures with the dogs. And as you can see from Cooper, he wanted to show her every inch of the property. He is such a big, lovable guy. And we need to get a better photo of him playing in water because he loves water. He has his own pool in his outside pen area that he rushes to every morning and every afternoon. An amazing dog, amazing dog.
No, we don't need a better photo because somebody's going to come give Cooper that 7-day foster home to try it out, and they're going to know firsthand that he doesn't need to go anywhere else. They're going to fall in love with him. I want to finish off with Dozer. Dozer's a 1-year-old American Pit Bull. And I could tell by looking with him, Susan Lloyd's sponsoring Dozer, by the way. I could tell by one look, he's got a little energy behind him.
He does, and he is a pit bull. So that's the first thing that people see. And he is big. I mean, he is a very tanky guy. But as you can see from the pictures, a lot of people will not expect how sweet this big boy is. I mean, as soon as you go up and meet and greet with him, his head rolls to the side and his ears cock up and his tongue hangs out and he's just wanting belly rubs and head pats. I mean, the sweetest, biggest, lovable guy, does great with kids, great with other dogs. Do not let that big, bulky exterior really push you away. Go up to these dogs because they will really turn your minds around to let you know that these are really sweet guys out here.
Jasmine, one more thing. In each of the profile pictures that we showed here of Betty Cooper and Dozer, you folks at home, you may have noticed there on the bottom, they were sponsored by Melissa Harley, the George family, Susan Lloyd. Number one, how do we become a sponsor of a dog? And number two, if you can explain a little bit about the week-long foster trial.
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody can sponsor at any time. So whether it's during an adoption special, like our Clear the Shelters event, where adoption fees are only $20 right now, or any time of the year, you just got to call us, or you can come into the shelter on weekends when we're open, or we do take payment by card. And as you can see from the pictures, we'll actually, if you're a business, we can attach your logo to it. If it's a family or in memorial of somebody, we can attach the name to that, or you can stay anonymous. That's completely fine. But for any of our sponsored dogs, they go through a week-long foster trial. That is to make sure that both parties, it is the perfect fit, and we keep that kennel space open for them. So if something happens in the 7 days, it's okay. They have a spot to return to, but our goal is for a 7-day foster trial for it to really be where the family and the dog get to really communicate with each other and know each other for that 7 days. And then after that, we touch base. And if everything's going well, that adoption is finalized.
That's why you're amazing, Jasmine. You're looking out for every nook and cranny and making sure these animals and these families are taken care of. Jasmine Kyle, Executive Director of the SEK Humane Society. Don't forget, if you missed earlier, Jasmine talking about those homemade dog houses from the kids at Lakeside Elementary, you can catch that interview on KOAMnewsnow.com. The live auction coming up August 29th at Little Balkan Stays. Jasmine, thank you so much for your time. Catch up with you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll see you then. And we'll have more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, some frontline workers in Colorado say they will not comply with Denver's vaccine mandate, even if it means the risk of losing their jobs. Earlier this month, the city of Denver announced it will require all city employees and contract workers to be fully vaccinated by September 30th as a condition of employment. Deborah Takahara sat down with one firefighter who says no go.
Some of the very same people who have been on the front lines protecting us during the pandemic say they are frustrated they're being told they have to get the COVID vaccine.
I've spoken personally with about a dozen officers that are ready to leave.
He says some Denver officers are retiring early or applying at other departments.
They've endured a lot, and now they're being told that they need to do something against their wishes to maintain their employment. And it is the last straw for them.
It's not just police officers, but firefighters as well.
It may work, it may not work. But at this time, having had COVID and natural immunities, I feel that my body has been protected.
Some have medical reasons or religious reasons and are waiting to hear if they're exempt from the vaccine mandate. Some nurses say they just want the freedom to choose.
And this mandate is definitely kind of the last straw for me. I should be able to choose what I put in my body and what I don't. I'm waiting. And I think I deserve that right to just wait.
City leaders say they want to encourage compliance.
Our goal is not to lose employees over this. Our goal is to follow the public health order. And the executive director of public health has basically made it very clear to us that this is the best tool that we have to combat the Delta variant at this point.
But these employees say they won't comply, and if forced, will take with them dozens of years of experience.
This is not right for any of us firefighters that have given our lives to this job to be told that we have to do something like this.
We'll have more COVID-19 vaccine news coming your way in our next half hour. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Even though temperatures are, I'd say, mild right now, it's pretty comfortable as far as when you look at the thermometer. It's already muggy outside, a little bit sticky, so no surprise that the heat advisory lasting, of course, for one more day, as we'll be up into the 90s by the time we get to the noon hour and top out around 96, 97 and feeling about like 102. But at least we're setting up for a pretty nice weekend. We'll be back right after this.
Coming up, a Joplin restaurant and food distribution center owner is indicted in a federal investigation about undocumented workers. And an area healthcare provider claims to have an at-home COVID-19 treatment regimen, but the FDA warns against using some of the drugs involved. National Dog Day as we catch up with the SCK Humane Society.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Since it's National Dog Day, it's probably going to be more of a dog day afternoon with this heat. Michael Hayslip joining us.
One more day of the heat advisory. One more day. And tell you what, the sun's already taken effect because we had some cloud cover. We had a beautiful shot of the moon early this morning as it was just partially obscured. But now those clouds, they are a thing of the past. There's a live look over 7th and Rangeline. Don't get me wrong, the colors are absolutely beautiful as we sit at 76 degrees and it's already muggy outside. Anywhere from about 72, 76, 72 in Miami, 73 in Nevada and Fort Scott. Let's go 74 right now in Monette. And we knew this was going to linger for one more day. Interesting thing about it is kind of lost a little bit there from Arkansas, lost a little bit on the Gulf Coast. It just pushes east. And anything you see in the white right there, that is considered a special weather statement. In other words, they're just telling people it's going to be hot. Look at this up in Omaha. What we got cooking up there? Well, that is where we're going to see the majority of today's thunderstorm activity, as it has already started throughout the upper plains, and that's where they are going to have the best chance for severe weather as well. Give you an idea from the NOWRAD radar, that's that severe thunderstorm warning right there north of Omaha. Nothing's going to be able to drop as far south and affect us for today. Any raindrops that you do see, future track will show you. It looks like it wants to last about 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm telling you, 99% of the 4 states is going to be just on the dry side. You're going to be hard pressed to see any raindrops. Tomorrow's going to be hot, just not as hot. So don't get me wrong, just because it's not an alert day doesn't mean we don't need to be careful. But there we are, dropping back down to the low 90s, if not high 80s on Saturday and Sunday.
Right, well.
Getting closer.
Looking forward to that dip under the 90s. That'll be nice. We want it. All right, thanks, Michael. A Joplin restaurant owner and others are accused of smuggling undocumented workers into the 4-state area and beyond. El Charro in Joplin is one of many local Mexican restaurants accused of using undocumented workers connected to a smuggling ring that operated in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Specialty Foods Distribution Center in Joplin was where Homeland Security, along with local law enforcement, made their move with a raid yesterday. One of the people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns Specialty Foods Distribution in Joplin and several Mexican restaurants, including El Charro, El Charrito, and Playa Azul. Cantina Bravo in Webb City is also accused of using undocumented workers who they obtained from the smuggling ring. Other people in the 4-state area named in the indictment include Jose Razo of Coral Junction, Anthony Dahl of Guatemala, who is living in Joplin, Miguel Terran Martinez of Joplin, and Ramon Moreno Hernandez of Mexico, who's living in Nevada. According to the indictment, the conspirators did not pay the appropriate state and federal payroll taxes, overtime wages, and workers' compensation for the unauthorized employees. You can read more about the indictment involving 45 restaurants in multiple states on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Fort Scott, Kansas healthcare provider claims he's had success with at-home COVID treatment. Ryan Lewis, a nurse practitioner at Fort Scott Family Medicine, says he's treated roughly 50 patients using vitamins and prescription medications like ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. However, the FDA warns against using both of those drugs to treat COVID-19, especially without a prescription.
From what I have seen, I can't argue with the results. From what I hear from other providers that have done the same thing with a much larger patient base and good results, I can't argue with that.
We have a more in-depth breakdown of the regimen on our website. You can go to KOAMnewsnow.com to find that. Pitt State is reporting COVID-19 numbers again. Officials say testing began on August 13th with move-in weekend. Of the 817 students who moved in, 635 met the university's guidelines to not have to be tested. Of the remaining students, 3 tested positive. And since classes began on the 16th, there have been 9 positive cases with 17 students in isolation. The Pittsburgh City Commission moves forward with a $1.2 million land acquisition. The property would be used to expand the city's North Industrial Park. The city will acquire a parcel of land located north of Atkinson Avenue and West Free King Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help meet the growing demand for industrial space within the city.
It starts with job growth. So your community grows because you get people that want to work there and they move there and they need houses, so you build houses. But the first thing is they need jobs. And for us, we're kind of a manufacturing community anyway, so industrial parks are highly critical to us, having those jobs that we can attract more and more people.
Officials say the parcel of land is nearly 200 acres. Also in Pittsburgh, crews break ground on a new residential area. 3P Development Group out of Bryan, Arkansas began work on the villas at Creekside, a community for people 55 years old and older. When it's finished, it'll include 29 2- or 3-bedroom villas and outdoor amenities, including bocce ball and pickleball courts, a dog park, and an outdoor gymnasium.
So this development is unlike anything else that we currently have going on in Pittsburgh. This is a high-end 55 and up community with amenities.
$1 million private development will be south of East 4th Street near Pittsburgh High School. There was also a groundbreaking celebration in Lamar, Missouri. The Barton County Chamber of Commerce has been fundraising to develop a park dedicated to the legendary Old West lawman Wyatt Earp. Earp was born in Illinois but moved his family to Lamar around 1869 when he was 21 years old. During that time, he served as a constable in Lamar. Chamber officials hope the park, which will feature a statue of Earp and his first wife, Urilla, will serve as a tourist attraction and community gathering place.
And hope to really have a community outdoor concert area where we can have picnics in the park, where we can just do all kinds of things to really show off our history and just how cool our town is and our great rich history.
The Wyatt Earp Park, which will be open in December, will be on the northeast corner of the Lamar Square at 10th Street and Broadway Avenue. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. We're making a pet connection this morning featuring 3 lovable canines, which, you know what, it's perfect since it's National Dog Day. Plus, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine booster shows increased results of antibodies. We'll have the latest, but first, it's 5:37.
Around 96, 97 degrees, heat advisories for one more day, but at least we get a little break over the weekend as we drop down to the low 90s, if not high 80s. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, big news about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Studies on recipients of the J&J shot found that booster doses generated a rapid and robust spike in antibodies. We get more from CBS's Mark Strassman, who is at the hard-hit area of Jackson, Mississippi.
As early as next month, boosters could go in the arms of Johnson & Johnson's 14 million vaccine recipients. Booster protection surged in a J&J clinical trial. Antibodies against the virus jumped 9 times higher with a second shot. Federal approval still required. Immunocompromised recipients likely would get first priority.
Today's announcement does provide some reassurance. A booster dose in people who initially got J&J vaccine is good news.
Our country remains half vaccinated. In one hotspot, Mississippi, barely 1 person in 3 has been fully vaccinated. As this graph shows, COVID has roared back with a vengeance. Its spring highs dwarfed by this summer surge. Kids already getting sick of school is one thing, but getting sick in school another. Statewide, almost 12,000 students have tested positive, 5,700 last week alone.
You have a good day?
Erica Jones has 2 kids, including her first grader, Kenley. She's also president of the Mississippi Association of Educators. The group now urges a mask mandate in all schools.
We've roughly been in school less than 3 weeks, and we've already had to send 30,000 students out to be quarantined.
8th grader Michaela Robinson never got that chance.
That was my only daughter, my only child.
Justin Waddle is Michaela's father. The 13-year-old felt sick on a Wednesday and died of COVID 3 days later.
It was a shock to everybody, the whole family.
An outbreak has now closed Michaela's entire school district for 2 weeks. Too few families have reliable internet to hold virtual classes. COVID has overwhelmed Mississippi's hospitals. St. Dominic's here in Jackson set up this screening tent in its parking lot. And in the next day or two, they'll start using it to screen and test emergency patients for the virus. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Jackson, Mississippi.
That's a look at today's top national story. Let's check back in with Michael for our something to talk about.
August 26th happens to be National Dog Day. It's a day that encourages people to share their lives with dogs of all breeds. And so what we did was kind of give you several options. Of course, we made dogs the first option, but asking what's the household pet of your preference. And right now, dogs gonna run away with this thing. 73% of you say, yeah, dog's number one. Cat does come in second. Sorry, fish, reptile, and birds. I guess you're just not welcome inside the house because other actually came in third place. You can take part each and every morning by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or you can connect through us to the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Let's come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries of the humankind on this National Dog Day right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant First Class Ronald Sawyer. A Commerce, Oklahoma native served in the U.S. Army. We are proud to salute Sergeant First Class Ronald Sawyer, this morning's four-state hero.
We will begin with a big #1 birthday and the apropos bow to go with it. Charlie Joe Beechner. 1 year ago today, huh, Charlie Joe? A happy birthday, kiddo. Absolutely gorgeous picture.
What a cutie there. Kevin Phillips turning 4 years old this year. Kevin is celebrating in Riverton.
Let's go out to Nevada, and that's where Timber Robinson is celebrating her 7th birthday. Looked like we had a little outdoor hiking adventure right there. Happy birthday, Timber.
All right, nice picture there of Timber. Easton Jesse is turning 10 years old this year in Frontenac. Well, I think he's getting in some lake time in that picture.
What up, Easton? Colton Meisner, he is celebrating his 18th birthday, and you want to talk about an apropos photo right there on National Dog Day. Colton with man's best friend in his arms. Colton, have a great day in Chanute.
And we've got Brogy Ray celebrating birthday number 20 this year. I hope it's a great one, Brogy.
Now, eventually we're going to get a little rain. Eventually the grass is going to grow. And so if you need any help, well, this dude right here owns Bill's Mowers and Mower. I do not know what is constituted in the mower, but if you want to find Bill Elmore in Columbus, you can ask him, and also wish Bill a happy 39th birthday.
All right. Happy birthday, Bill.
And more.
Happy birthday to Gail Hamblin, who's now double nickels, 55 years old for Gail in Pittsburgh.
Donna Miller, a happy 57th birthday. Miss Donna, she is celebrating today in Chanute.
And in Parsons, Kansas, Pat Hale turns 58 years old. Happy birthday, Pat.
Kay Amex, she begins our Columbus birthday celebrations. We've got a couple more here to pass along. Happy birthday, Miss Kay.
And LaDonna Smith is also celebrating in Columbus, because that's where the party's at.
Leela Grant, she's celebrating in Scammon. Happy birthday to Leela. Alice Musa, happy birthday in Cherokee. We'll keep it in the bus. That's where Barbara Frank has a birthday. Barbara, happy birthday to you. And Karen Norman, she's celebrating a birthday in Frontenac. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this August the 26th. This is where you can send them into birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also find us on the web at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right, you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. Once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Just a couple minutes officially past the official Sunrise on this Wednesday, August the 26th. There we are outside of Television City, and there we took the camera and faced it off to the north and to the east over 7th and Rangeline. And in Joplin right now, 76 degrees. It's already muggy outside. You're going to notice it when you walk outside. We're anywhere from 70 in Parsons to 76s in Lamar and Carthage. Though Miami in its 70 as well, and Pittsburgh right now it's 73. Minus Benton County down in northwest Arkansas. Everybody else that's highlighted is under that heat advisory until 7 o'clock, and the advisories continue to push off all the way just about through northeastern Ohio. Skywatch storm tracker, once again, that's the reflectivity. We've been on the dry side up here north of Omaha. That is where the action is, and now we're also starting to pick up in North Dakota as well. Mirror that right on the severe thunderstorm risk map. That's going to be the second consecutive day in a row for them. As we drop down to the tropics, we've got a really good chance for this one to become a named storm here in the next 48 hours. Still looks like September and October are going to be active for the Atlantic storm season. While they get active, we actually are going to get a break from our heat. Just got to get through today, remember, because it'll still feel about like 102 to 103 this afternoon. Any pop-up rain that we do see lasts 5 to 10 minutes. That's about the extent of it. But at least as we head into the weekend, we're not going up on the thermometer. We're headed back down to the low 90s. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this. Final look at our Insta poll this morning from the KOAM News Now Facebook page. And remember, you can connect to it by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. It just so happens that today is National Dog Day, August 26th of each year. So we asked, what's your household pet of preference? And you dog lovers coming in strong with 71% of you say, yeah, give me the canine in the house. 22% of you said cat. Everybody else is different, just way down at the bottom. And once again, I appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Michael. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Homeland Security agents charged more than a dozen people suspected of taking part in a criminal enterprise employing undocumented workers in the area. One of the people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns specialty food distribution in Joplin and several Mexican restaurants in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, including El Charro, El Charrito, and Playa Azul. Yesterday, Homeland Security raided specialty foods. Other people in the area named in the indictment include Jose Razo of Coral Junction, Anthony Dahl of Guatemala, who lives in Joplin, Miguel Terran Martinez of Joplin, and Ramon Moreno Hernandez of Mexico, who's living in Nevada. CBS News has learned the U.S. military is secretly rescuing Americans stuck outside the Kabul airport. The military is using helicopters and even some ground troops. British officials warn of very, very credible reporting of an imminent attack targeting Kabul airport amid evacuations, but did not elaborate on the details. Pitt State's reporting COVID-19 numbers again. Officials say testing began on August 13th with move-in weekend. Of the 817 students who moved in, 635 met the university's guidelines to not have to be tested. Of the remaining students, 3 tested positive. Since classes began on the 16th, there have been 9 positive cases with 17 students in isolation. Pittsburgh City Commission moves forward with a $1.2 million land acquisition to expand the North Industrial Park. The city will acquire a parcel of land located north of Atkinson Avenue and west of Free King Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help meet the growing demand for industrial space in the city. There was also a groundbreaking celebration in Lamar, Missouri. The Barton County Chamber of Commerce has been fundraising to develop a park dedicated to the legendary Old West lawman Wyatt Earp. Earp was born in Illinois but moved his family to Lamar around 1869 when he was just 21 years old. During that time, he served as a constable in Lamar. Chamber officials hope the park, which will feature a statue of Earp and his first wife, Urilla, will serve as a tourist attraction and community gathering place.
Here we are, as we approach the 7 o'clock hour. It's already humid. It's not hot. It's a good morning to get outside, enjoy some fresh air before the sun really begins to beat down on us. Heat advisory until 7 o'clock tonight, but this will be our final day of the widespread advisory. We could see a little bit hang on to the west as far as tomorrow goes. Tomorrow's not going to be as hot, but we'll still see some heat index readings that are triple digits. We'll be able to cut down on the extent of the advisories, and they should all be gone by Saturday and Sunday, though.
Well, coming up today at noon, Howard's making Amish pickled beets, and the latest on Afghanistan rescue efforts with new British intelligence emerging. We'll have that later this morning.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM. We've got the CBS Morning News coming up next.
Or you can sit down with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
And remember, on this National Dog Day, we're fortunate enough to be joined by Jasmine Kyle of the SEK Humane Society. Wait until you see these dog houses that a group of elementary school kids built in an effort to help those pets find a home. Wraps it up for this Thursday edition. Hey, gonna be outside. Hey, drink a whole lot of water, and do me a favor, be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.